I'm not gonna lie to y'all, bruh. I have found myself binge watching Total Drama Island that parodies reality TV shows like Survivor, which contestants do challenges for awards and try to survive elimination to win $1 million, you feel me? Yada yada yada. I have specifically been watching Total Drama All-Stars, you feel me? Upon watching, I realized that there's a character that might be the biggest menace in all of cartoon history. Before we get into that, we're gonna need some context. All-Stars brings back former competitors, you feel me? So everybody that were fan favorites or that did good in their respective seasons come back to try to win a million big ones, you feel me? And one of those characters is named Mike. Now, Mike is, you know, top of the Joe everyday nigga, you feel me? He's nice, he's smart, he's kind, but he has DID, which, let me drop some knowledge on y'all, is dissociative identity disorder, which is a disorder characterized by the presence of 2 or more distinct personality traits. He has 5 alternate personalities. He's got Chester, the old man, right? He don't really be doing too much. We got Svetlana, who is a Russian gymnast, Vito, an Italian brute, Manitoba, Indiana Jones wannabe, and finally, who this video is revolved around, Mal. All these distinct personalities are triggered in different ways. Chester comes out when he gets angry. Svetlana comes out when he's athletically challenged. Vito comes out when his shirt comes off. That shit a little zesty. Manitoba comes out whenever he puts on a fedora or like any type of hat. Mal was triggered. Hold on, wait for it. Mal was triggered when this nigga got knocked upside the head and got KO'd. Now, inside his mind, it gives you a scene into his mind when Manitoba, who was the personality that was in control at that moment, falls back into his brain. The picture of Mike that's inside his head burns and reveals a silhouette of Mal. They go the rest of the episode up until the end with Mike just being himself, but at the end they give you this scene.
One by one, they will all fall.
Huh? Did you say something, Mike?
No, just sitting here.
The next episode is really when we get into the devious activities by this nigga. Mike and his friend Cameron are just chilling in the room, bro, about to go to sleep, hit the hay, whatever y'all niggas wanna say. Mal comes out during the night, walks over to another competitor, Sam, and opens his bag. He proceeds to take out his Game Boy, whatever the hell they called it, and break it with his bare hands, you feel me? Mike snaps back to reality like he's Eminem, doesn't know what the hell is going on, and puts it back in the bag. And that puts my nigga Sam down in the dumps. The rest of the contestants are thinking about who broke his Game Guy. Mike Ray over here about to snitch on himself, talking about who would do such a thing, knowing damn well he was the one who did it. We don't see Mal again until the next episode. He only comes out for a brief moment in which Sierra, who is another contestant on the show, is sleeping. Mal instant transmissions into her room, breaks her phone with one hand. I don't know what type of roids this nigga's on, but he's on a different type of timing. He pops up later when the contestants are doing a pancake eating challenge and hits a switch that causes one of the machines to go AWOL and throw Courtney into a tree, you feel me? Later down the line in the episode, Duncan presses Mike about knowing him, who he was, he seems familiar, all that shit. That'll come up later though, that'll come up later. Mal plays a pretty big role the next episode called Moon Madness, in which there's a moon that causes a mood change, you feel me? So if you're naturally nice, you're gonna be evil. If you're evil, you're gonna be nice. So that switches Mike, who's, you know, like I said, usually nice, normal nigga, to Mal. And Mal spends the episode trying to terrorize all these niggas, bro.
Now that I'm in control, I'll torment these peons a little. But first, I have to sound like Mike.
Hi, I'm a bug-eyed weirdo and everybody loves me.
Perfect.
Now Mal and Cameron, Cameron thinks he's Mike, they're moving through the forest by holding onto a stick, right? Because they can't see shit. So when Cameron starts catching on to Mal, Mike lets go of the stick, lets Cameron bust his ass, roll down this big ass hill, and get lost, you feel me? So Mal pretty much left my nigga out to dry. Then later we see him terrorizing a bird when Duncan pulls up on him to press him once again. But before he could even get into interrogating my man, Mal releases the bird on him. The bird chases him. Mal laughs that shit off. Now this is really getting to the devious shit when this nigga starts wilding for real. He pulls up on Zoe, who's on the edge of a cliff, with a big ass wooden club and was ready to bonk her shit like Donkey Kong, bro. She turns around and catches him, so he throws the club over the cliff. And she starts thinking, am I tripping? Why is he acting like this? Is there something up with him? She has no idea. Now when Mike's team almost make it to the end of the finish line, the moon changes everything back. So Mike comes back, but he doesn't know what the hell's going on, and they end up losing the challenge because he doesn't get over the finish line. And at the very end of the episode, Mal comes back and makes a promise with Cameron that Cameron will help figure out, why Mike is tripping. The whole time he's making a deal with Mal, and Mal's talking his shit at the end, talking about everybody's gonna lose, I'm gonna win, yada yada yada. Classic villain shit. Episode 6 is where things really start to shift. He's fucking with Duncan by breaking his knife. He takes it from under his pillow in the middle of the night, beats it with a rock, and ends up breaking it. Meanwhile, Mike is starting to trip, thinking that he should break up with Zoe because he want her to feel uncomfortable around him, all that shit, right? He starts contemplating, bruh, as I would be too. So since Mike says that he's trying to protect Zoe at all costs, this nigga does one of the dumbest things that I have ever witnessed. He decides to drop a big ass boulder on his head to try to reset his mind. Whole time that just brings Mal out, and Mal has control over his body for good now. And he pulled the biggest switcheroo and trapped Mike inside his own mind, got him chained up like this is the 1800s, bruh. He's got my man trapped in his own subconscious while he's finna run loose, running amok on the rest of these contestants. In the next episode, we have Mal scaring all the woodland creatures, all the animals, have them run over Chef. Then he comes and steps on Chef's fingers, disrespecting him, and we get a glimpse into Mike's mind. You feel me? Mike is asking for help. Whole time Mal pulls up, starts talking shit. The generic villain shit. He was waiting for his time to come, and now he's got his opportunity, and he finna go to town on all these niggas. And in this episode specifically, the challenge is boxing. You feel me? So they gotta box random opponents, and in it, Mal gets Izzy, who was a former contestant on the show. He goes Chris Brown. He goes Joe Frazier, bro. He beats the shit out of Izzy with no regard whatsoever. He don't care that he's being a woman. He said shut the fuck up and watch his goddamn combo, bro. He does not give a damn. Zoe asked him, she's like, that wasn't like you. And then he's like, yeah, he's like, I don't know what came over me, yada yada. Still playing it off. Nobody has no idea that this is Mal whole time. Duncan and Zoe start contemplating about who Mike really is, and Duncan's trying to put her on, saying that he's not who he is, but she's dumb as hell. She still thinks that this is Mike whole time, bro. She getting played. She's got fucking tarot cards trying to read this nigga future and all that bullshit, bro. Whole time Mal is talking his shit, living his best life, bro. Meanwhile, we go back into Mike's mind, and he finally escapes by using a question mark. I don't know how the hell that worked, but he got up out of there, bro. And he eventually finds one of his old personalities, Chester. You feel me? Literally one of his old personalities, the old ass man who was useless. But he pulls up on Chester. Chester agrees to help him, and they make their journey to try to get Mike's body back. This episode was a boat race in which Zoe puts herself in danger to bring Mike back, and it worked. Mike came back into his body, but he didn't know what was going on. Mal gets thrown back inside the brain, but then he instant transmissions out of there, puts Mike back in his shit. Mal wasn't trying to save Zoe, but he saved her because everybody knows that him and Zoe are in a relationship, and it would look suspicious if he didn't save her. So he goes and saves her. She still thinks it's la-di-da, cuddles, gummy bears, happiness, and he's talking his shit, talking about how gullible she is. In the end, Mal ends up making a deal with Alejandro, who is another one of the most formidable opponents on this show. And Mal keeps talking his shit, talking about he's gonna backstab him, all that shit, bro. So in the next episode, Alejandro ends up finding a room in which the host, Chris, watches everything that all the contestants are doing. And he finds a tape called Mal's Greatest Hits. And in that, he finds all the devious black force energy that Mal has been pulling on all these contestants on this show, bro. And in one of the clips, he's found that Mal rigged the votes against Cameron to try to get him packed up and hid it in Alejandro's bed. So Alejandro's not going for that shit, right? He goes back to his bed and puts the evidence on Mike's pillow. So now Cameron and Zoe think that he was the person behind it all. So he decides to take out the disc and it's finna use it as evidence to try to show the other contestants. But Mal ends up finessing his way out of there again, bro, with some smooth talk. He ends up telling Cameron that everybody else is trying to get him packed up, even though they don't give a damn about Cameron, and saying that he's the only one that Cameron can trust. So the challenge, they have to go to this mine to try to find Chris, you feel me, because that nigga got kidnapped by Zeke. Cameron ends up falling into a hole and hanging on by the root of a plant. Mal claims he's going to get help. Whole time he takes his sweet time getting back, but when he gets back, he brings a big ass rock. But by the time he came back, Cameron had already fell down the hole into some water. He linked up with Gwen, and then they end up saving Chris. But Cameron was so badly hurt that he was the one who had to get sent home. He was the one who had to get sent home because he couldn't compete anymore. And right before he leaves, Cameron says like, "Goodbye, Mike," whatever. But whole time it's Mal. Mal says that Mike's gone. He reveals himself to Cameron, talking this shit, whatever. So Mal is really getting these niggas packed up out of here, bro. In the next episode, we're thrown back into Mike's mind where him and Chester are making their way through, you feel me? They end up finding Svetlana, the Russian gymnast, and they find her enslaved too. Mal and Alejandro end up getting into a little scuffle in which Mal completely bitches this nigga Alejandro, bro. I mean, he made him get down on his knee like he was proposing to him, bro. Like he wants to spend the rest of his life with him. The challenge of this episode was an obstacle course in which Mal tries to sabotage everything. He bites one of the ropes that were made out of licorice, tried to hold Alejandro. He threw a tire at that nigga. And during the challenge, Alejandro grabs onto Mal while he's on the monkey bars. Mal summons Svetlana to use her athletic abilities to start swinging back and forth, bodying this nigga Alejandro against the monkey bars. But then Mike breaks Svetlana out of it. Mal loses the athletic ability and busts his ass. Later, Mal convinces pretty much the rest of the contestants to vote against Alejandro, and it ends up working. And Alejandro catches back up with Mal. Mal kicks this nigga in the chest. Alejandro tees up. They both race to the end of the challenge, which is a zip line across the lake or whatever. Alejandro gets the early lead, but then Mal, with his crazy ass, jumps from his zip line onto Alejandro's to weigh him down, so he falls and Zoe ends up winning. Alejandro ended up getting packed up, bro. So Mal is really getting these niggas up out the paint like that. Next episode, we're thrown back into Mike's mind with Svetlana, Chester, and Mike continuing their way through the mine, bro. This is a continuous thing. And they roll up on Vito, who was easily the hardest fucking personality out of all these niggas, bro. My man Mal had him with a ventriloquist dummy. You know, he's chained up just like everybody else. And the doll ends up coming to life, starts talking shit to Mike. Mike uses the doll to beat the chain on Vito's restraints and ends up breaking the chain. The rest of them make their way on, you feel me? Now, back on the outside of the mine, Mal exposes Courtney for her list of who she was going to try to pack up. That ends up pissing everybody off, and they're all against her now. So you know she probably finna go home. They're gonna vote her off. Throughout the challenge, Mal was fucking with Gwen. He dunks her head into some dirty ass swamp water. I know she got all type of infections now. When he gets to this fire breathing plant, he puts a rock in its mouth, causing it to explode, and the other contestants not be able to get the chocolate from it, which was part of the challenge. Courtney ends up using like the burnt chocolate coals on her ice cream, causing it to melt. A bird ends up throwing up on her shit, and in the end they have to eat their own sundaes, and which she's obviously not gonna do because, like I said, a bird threw up on that shit. Courtney ends up going home pretty much by the likeness of Mal, and yeah. So we're down to the final 4 niggas, and Mal off the rip in the first minute of the episode starts trying to convince Scott to go against Gwen. We go back into Mal's mind. The rest of the personalities are moving along, and they pull up on the final personality, which is Manitoba Smith. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, the fake Indiana Jones, and he's burning Mike's memories. Mike tries to explain to the rest of the personalities that if they beat Mal, they can be free. But the rest of the personalities question him that if they beat Mal, Mike's gonna be back in charge, which wouldn't make them really free. So Mike pulls out a wallet which has the original personality like license in it, and pictured on that license was Mal, showing that Mal was the original personality, bro. On the outside of the mind, it takes Zoe the whole season to find out that Mike is Mal the whole time, bro. It took her she's supposed to be his boyfriend, and it took her the whole season to find out that her boyfriend isn't who he is. So this challenge is for the competitors to find different pieces of treasure, and Mal rolls up on Gwen, and when she isn't looking, he pulls out a pipe and is ready to lay down the pipe. Pause. He ends up failing and claims that he was just looking for his treasure that he was supposed to find. And then when Gwen turns her back on him again, he knocks down a whole wall of shit on her, but she's trapped underneath a whole pile of ruckus of all type of shit, bro. He eventually skedaddles his way over to Scott, in which Scott has to get a diamond off of the shark's tooth, right? Miles claims that he'll help him too, knowing damn well that he's gonna backstab Scott in the end. He ends up using Scott's trap against him. The shark comes over, beats the hell out of Scott. Mal cuts him down, and now Scott is all discombobulated, bro. He's damn near on his last leg. Mal did not find his treasure at all, but he brings Scott back to Chris, in which Chris accepts it because he likes seeing people being injured. So he accepts Mal's treasure, even though that wasn't even what he was supposed to get. Gwen brings back her painting that she was supposed to find, but she ended up messing it up and had to use bear poop to try to fix it. Chris ends up throwing up on it. She gets packed up, and in the end, we go back into the mine, in which we find out that that license was fake from Mal. The rest of the personalities agree that Mike is the best personality out of all of them, and they end up making their way on, continuing through this journey. Zoe gets rid of Scott because she doesn't want to get rid of Mike, because she thinks Mike could be lost forever if she gets rid of him. In the final episode, Zoe is hoping that Mike isn't gone forever and that Mal isn't just reigning supreme over his body and shit now. Meanwhile, Mal's talking his shit. He's got all the confidence in the world. He's not worried about a thing. Go inside his head. The rest of the personalities pull up on his tower. They make their way inside, and they're led to about a 80,000 staircase that they gotta go up. Mal is still trying to play his Mike, putting on, his fake Mike persona. Zoe presses him out of it, and Mal ends up still talking his shit, saying that Mike is gone forever. The finale challenge is to make your way up these moats to the very top and pull the sword out of the stone. Mal ends up pole vaulting across the first moat, which has acid in it. That's how y'all niggas know he doesn't value his life. He ends up barely making it across. Zoe was concerned that he was gonna die. Gwen and Cameron had to convince her that he's not Mike anymore. Back into the mine, Mike and the rest of the personalities pull up to the very top of the tower and find a button. Mike's ready to push the button off rip, but Chester tells him that the button resets his mind and ultimately gets rid of his personalities. So Mike is contemplating, because he fucks his personalities. He doesn't want to get rid of them, but he also doesn't want Mal to reign supreme over his body. So he has that red pill, blue pill choice to make. Mal and Zoe both make their way up the moats. Mal pogo sticks across the lava moat and lands on Zoe, throws her into the water. In the water, Mal is trying to actively drown her when he gets stunned. Mal goes back into his mind, where he finds his tower destroyed and Mike confronting him. Now, Mike ends up telling Mal that the five of them decided to push the button, which got rid of the tower, which got rid of the rest of his personalities. Mal is ready to throw hands with Mike. He's ready to beat that nigga ass, but Mike hits that nigga with some type of invisibility shield. I don't know what he just pulled out, and Mal ends up fading. He starts trying to contemplate with Mike, saying that he's a part of him and that he shouldn't get rid of him, but he's already fading. Mike just turns his back and walks away like a badass. He ends up saving Zoe from this shark. Zoe wonders if it's really him or if it's Mal. He tells her that it's him, and they end up kissing, and they end up making their way up the moat, in which Zoe ends up pulling the stone out, meaning that she won the $1 million, even though they're probably gonna split it, because they're boyfriend girlfriend. I mean, if it was me, I know damn well my girl better give me half of that shit. But Zoe ends up winning. The island ends up sinking, and they're sailing off, bruh. Ultimately concluding this season and Mal and all his devious ass activities, bro. He was actively trying to kill people. He was breaking shit. He was backstabbing niggas. He was lying to niggas, bro. Which ultimately I think made him one of the most devious cartoon characters ever. And he tried to enslave his other personalities, bro. But hopefully y'all enjoy. I'm ggrimey. Like, share, comment, subscribe. I love y'all niggas. I'm out. Peace.